here we go. So I got a few different things. I'm going to try to tie them all together. First of all, everybody's all hopped up about the meeting with Putin, with the president of China, Russia, and India making plans to take over the world and bypass America. I'm sure you're.
I'm not all hyped up about it, but if you think if you think that it's nothing, it's a nothing burger, you're crazy.
Okay, why? Tell me why it's not a nothing burger, because I can chew on this for a minute. I mean,
Because these are all the most miserable, self-centered pricks in the world who have been united because we have the biggest miserable, self-centered prick in the world that dwarfs the other ones. So somehow all of these horrible people have gotten together to form a team because our horrible person is worse than all their horrible people combined. And, as cocky as you want to be, we are fat and lazy and the rest of the world is hungry and lean. And so let's not, this is a situation where you don't want to fuck around and find out. Like it simply isn't. You're talking about too many bodies.
what can they reason? I mean, because on the one hand, I look at it and I'm like, oh man, this is bad news because you have the two large, half the world population, half of the Earth's population is either in India or China. Like just those two countries combined,
yeah, sure.
3 billion, 3.5 billion, 3 billion, probably 3 billion, maybe 2.8.
Yeah, whatever it is. Whatever.
But it's almost half of the people in the world, at least a third.
It's almost 10x the US add those three countries together.
Exactly. Plus, you have the largest landmass. Russia obviously is not a big population, and it's not even an irrelevant economy, but it is the largest landmass in the world. So it's a good commodity resource for India and for China. And so my thought was, I'm like, okay, well, they're not going to be able to create a bypass currency. They're not going to be able to create a competitive capital market. And they're not going to launch a coordinated military campaign. So what can they really do? And the only thing I could think of, well, they could accelerate their internal trading, like they could trade more with each other, basically. They could say, we'll just have more economic activity between us, being India, China, Russia, et cetera. But I don't, beyond more economic activity, that Tata Motors is going to sell in Beijing, or that the electric cars from China are going to be sold in Moscow or whatever. Like, I don't really know what else they could do in terms of manipulating the levers.
In a world where your future is, I don't buy that at all. It would just, if you took China away from Apple, just as an example, or you took China away from Nvidia, the stock prices probably, or China and India stock prices probably get cut in half. So I don't know what you mean by,
So you're saying, but you think it's a credible possibility that they would withdraw U.S.
I think it's well, it's definitely a credible possibility that they use their whatever powers they have, sanctions, economic limitations, restrictions, against the U.S. The best way to fight a bully. Everybody knows this. This is not like, this is
a revelation.
Yeah, it's not a revelation. This is bully tactic 101. The best way to fight a bully, and Trump's a bully, is you hit him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And the way to hit him in the face is you try to destroy their economy. Now, can they destroy our economy? Probably not. But can they hurt it? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. This is in a world where you cannot survive without globalization. Just think about this. Technology has come too far. Decentralization's come too far. Globalization has come too far. And it is absolutely impossible to continue expanding when you have, just inside of your own borders. The whole isolationist approach is not scalable past a certain point. And the crazy thing about it, the hypocrisy in all this is that Trump is trying to, and his family is trying to get rich off of a decentralized game plan. That is their personal family game plan.
Meaning the crypto billions that they're
whatever between stable coins and meme coins and cryptocurrencies and all the money they're grifting in the digital asset space, which is completely decentralized, which relies on kind of pure globalization, for that matter. Mm-hmm. With the public policies and that are coming out of Washington, it's all the exact opposite. It is completely centralized. So for the American public and consumer, they are trying to centralize everything and control everything. It's almost like a true socialist state.
Mm-hmm.
But for their own wealth, they're going pure, and this is the crazy hypocrisy of it, they're going pure global in a decentralized world where they don't care where the buyers or sellers come from. It blows my mind. And nobody is calling them out on that. Oh, I mean, I shouldn't say nobody, but not enough people are calling them out on it. And it is a very dangerous policy. And when you see, listen, India and China hate each other. India and Russia despise each other. To have those groups in the same room doing business together,
laughing it up,
having cocktails when we should be the middleman selling to all three of those places. I mean, with the fact that India and Russia, they can't stand each other. And the fact that they're doing business blows me away. The fact that they're both doing business with China's doing the right thing. They're trying to take over the world, which is the right thing to do when somebody gets, decides to go full isolationist. It's insane.
Because obviously it's China's game. So if China can roll up India, Russia into their sort of world, not to mention the U.S. withdrawal for all of the goodwill.
That's right.
All the medical equipment in Africa, all the medical equipment in South America.
Yeah, and so and the reason, and what's Trump
all the roads,
his administration trying to do about it? All they're trying to do about it is to create more and more limitations and restrictions to doing business in the U.S., but yet they're trying to create their own currency, which essentially, so on the one hand, trying to create their own currency, on the other hand, trying to destroy the U.S. currency. And nobody's calling them out. They're murdering the U.S. dollar and trying to build up their own currency, their own digital currency, essentially not to replace it, but to complement or supplement it, which is the fact that we're not calling them out on this is so sad.
Remember what I said earlier about this podcast ending with a recommendation to buy gold? But anyway, we'll come back.
Well, you just missed a 200-point rally in there.
Well, okay, better late than never. Just like Google, I'll get to that as well.
Okay.
So an additional layer of this. Well, I mean, I almost don't want to abandon this. This is actually, I think, this is the most important conversation in the world right now, actually, which is the consolidation of power outside of the United States, and the degree to which it represents a credible threat. The other thing that I find interesting right now, we saw it yesterday with the markets, because I know we're talking about this rate cut coming later this month, is the fact that long rates are actually rising in a world that is anticipating short rates to be cut in the next couple of weeks. Do you think that the central bank has lost? I mean, I kind of know what you're going to say, but do you think that the central bank is losing it more? It has less control than normal over long rates? Is the central bank losing the authority to influence rates as a result of the shift in power that we just talked about, not to mention the trade policies and isolationism and?
Are you talking about in the U.S.? You're talking about the rest of the world?
About U.S. rates rising in recent days in a world that's expecting a short-term rate, a cut in the short term in the short rates.
I think you're going to see a cut in the short-term rates because although the long-term rates have remained heavy and they're still high, the short-term rates have rallied enough for them to cut. At least to make it'll be superficial, but it's a statement. There's also a lot of political pressure. So I think, and today the long rates rebounded a little bit, which no surprise to anybody.
Is there a risk that we've lost basically Trump's all hopped up, wants to cut rates, wants to change the Fed governor. He wants rates to come down.
Yeah,
they're going to cut rates, and long rates are not going to go down. They're going to go up.
No, I don't think that's
in the cards.
No, I don't think that's the risk. I actually don't think that's the risk at all. I think the risk is that they cut short-term rates, which it's already reflected in the market. Yeah. 10 years up to 12.5, which is about 2.5 points off its low, which is a pretty big move. It's a 10% move, and so I think that they cut short-term rates. I think long-term rates don't move much at all. I think they'll stay about flat. But I think the how the market reacts to that will be very different. I think the message that the market will get is that that's not going to really help to to knock down inflation at all. I don't think that's going to help to put any kind of a cap on inflation. In fact, it could be an accelerant, and I think the market will act negatively. So I think the risk is in the stock market. If they lower rates, the risk is not in the bond market.
Got it. All right, going back to our friendly neighborhood, despicable world leaders. There was a hot mic moment apparently between the presidents of China, Russia, and India, where they were not talking about how to bring down the American empire, nor were they talking about an alternative bypass currency to end the US dollar, nor were they talking about nuclear annihilation. But rather, they were talking about modern medical science being able to swap in fresh organs and allow people to live to 150 or 160 years old. And I believe Mr. Putin, and President Putin, I should say, went so far as to say we might live forever if medical technology gets to that point. Would you, do you, would, and this seemed attractive to them. Obviously, a good dictator is only as good as his or her ability to stay in power. So if you can live forever, that means you could be dictator for a good 100 years. Even if you could come in, you could get your dictator gig at 70 and still run the table for 100 years of dictating, with the proper organ swap protocol. Does this idea appeal to you? Would you like to?
Well, first of all, you are giving, to start off the conversation, you're giving those guys, you're not giving them credit for what is a very brilliant PR move in the world in 2025. With three of the most powerful world leaders on stage, there's no such thing as a hot mic moment. Okay, but that does not exist. Okay. What exists is leave the mics on. We are going to talk about this so that it's picked up as a hot mic moment. There is no such thing as a hot mic moment. So I don't believe that for 1 second. They left the mics on to have that discussion. That's why they didn't talk about blowing up something or doing. They talked about something that they knew would generate
provocative and meaningless.
That's right. And the other side to it, which I think is so funny, is you have three old dictators essentially talking about extending life into perpetuity. I mean, that would have been a perfect discussion for Trump because he needed all four of those guys there and talk about extending life into what else do dictators want to do except to extend life into perpetuity so they can maintain control for another 75 years. So that was a complete setup. There was no hot mic moment. That was just, that was a complete setup. And they just, that's what those guys talk about in their spare time. I mean, they want you to think that they're going to be there forever. That's why Trump always talks about a third term, because it's not that he believes he can run for a third term. He wants you to think that he can run for a third term. And that's the same thing that Putin does all the time. They always want you to think that they're going to be here forever. So don't mess with them because they're going to be here forever. That is part of the whole.
So it's the long arm of retaliation. So that basically there is no future without me. So don't even think about.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's why those are very well orchestrated. Those are planned moments.
All the same, do you think that would you like to live forever? Is that an appeal? Would you like to be the permanent Sosnoff?
I mean, could I fix certain things along the way?
Oh, that's the whole point. We'll swap all sorts of things. It's like rebuilding an old Ferrari. Like give you a new engine, we'll give you a new carburetor, we'll put in we'll put in a new shock absorbers, new lungs.
I mean, sure, why not? I mean, if you could do it, I guess, I mean, who would say no to that? I don't know.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I guess it depends on I think that people get sort of mixed up between long life and quality of life. It's one thing if you're healthy and vital and have purpose and people, then living for a long time obviously has appeal. But if you're decrepit and bedridden and all your friends are dead, right. there's a wide market there in terms of the quality of life over time.
I agree. I don't want to be a 90-year-old Tom who lives to be 120. I'd be okay with, a 50-year-old Tom that lives to be 120.
Yeah. Um, Staying in the world of technology, but I'm just going to tell you why I want to talk about this. I was at a board meeting for a company that I'm on the board of last week, and it's a big. They do a lot of digital advertising. It's a bit like they use a lot of Google ads and stuff like this, and so as part of the 3 days of meetings, the Google team came in and we were teasing them about, GPT and nobody uses Gemini and what are you guys even doing and whatever, and because there was like a dinner with them, a social occasion with them before their presentation. So the night before we were breaking their balls, we're like, oh, search is dead. And you guys are going to have to find new jobs. And no one uses Gemini and all this stuff. And they were like, ha, ha, ha. And so anyway, next day we're in the meeting and it's their room for 3 hours and their slide deck and all their things. And they sort of they showed off. I mean, they basically, showed off. And what they showed was, I think they would call it Performance Max or something. Anyway, it's basically the end of search as we know it, the end of tagging as we know it. And basically using what I think, from what I saw, the most impressive artificial intelligence I've ever seen in my life was in this meeting last week, where it was inferring every single thing, like the same way that you like TikTok because the algorithm kicks you with the things that you're most interested in.
Yeah.
They were basically showing how that Google on the back end can use sort of hyper interpretation. I don't even know what the word you would use to describe it, but basically inference through direct and indirect behavior to both reveal who are the best possible targets for new Tasty Trade clients out of all the people in the world. And you can say it to the robots, and the robots will kick out a list of 100,000 people filtered from Alabama to San Francisco to Seattle that are the high. And then what's the best way to bring them in, catch their attention in the first place and move them through the funnel and close them and all the things. And whether it's a Tasty Trade client or a travel customer or a car buyer, it could be anything. The point is the robot's capability was remarkable in terms of its inference and understanding of human beings and its ability to manipulate them in behavior. The other thing that was clear in that conversation was that entry-level computer programming jobs are maybe not going away, but are the demand for entry-level programmers is in collapse because they're hiring senior programmers to manage AI programmers. That junior marketing and communication jobs are in rapid decline. That junior finance jobs are in rapid decline. Junior marketing jobs in decline. Basically, all the sort of entry-level finance, programming, communications, marketing.
I don't agree with that assessment, but go ahead.
But why? How can you? I mean, that's factual.
I don't know that it is factual. I think that it's a very temporary phase until the market sorts out, what new jobs this creates. And I also think the other thing is have you been fooled by AI yet?
It's not about fooled. It's about the utility of.
Have you used it as a utility for something that you've replaced something else for yet, other than search?
No.
Okay, either have I.
But I'm on the edge of trying to use it to replace a little bit of a marketing function.
I mean, for 99,
I would say marketing is after search, it's a marketing and.
I understand that, but 99% of the people that use AI at this point have basically replaced Google search with Google AI.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's really what it is. I think that beyond that, talking about how AI has. Have you used AI for marketing? AI marketing to this point, for me, is so bad. Like it's so.
I don't disagree, but I just feel like
so
that's the
annoying.
Next problem.
It's annoying. It's not effective. It's obvious. It's fairly obvious, and I so far haven't bought into it. The AI marketing aspect of it.
layer three of this, because I'm going to try to tie together living forever medical science with AI with this final piece, which is the other conversation at the Google dinner, was quantum computing.
Okay.
And the fact that quantum computing is a real thing that will actually be deployed on some level in the next 12 to 36 months. And that one of the anxieties that exists in the finance world is that quantum computing apparently has the ability to bypass that the entire security infrastructure that exists around banking, energy infrastructure, medical infrastructure, tax IRS infrastructure is basically meaningless in the face of quantum computing. And the quantum, like basically, once quantum computing is in place, I can drain Goldman Sachs, I can drain JP Morgan, I can flip the switch at the Department of Energy on the power grid, on and on and on. When I'm sure you're going to say, don't worry about it. Why? Why should I not be concerned about the quantum raid on the banking and energy infrastructure over the next couple of years?
Have you ever seen any technological advancement that has set you back and not moved you forward? Can you name one technological advancement that has made your life more difficult as opposed to improving your life? And that's the reason that quantum computing, again, I don't like when people start to bring up the negatives that quantum computing is going to destroy the world, because what's going to happen is we're going to figure out how quantum computing is going to make everything better, just like AI, just like everything else. Of course, everybody is scared of change. Everybody's always scared of change. But change, especially technological change, is never bad. It's never bad. You can't. I challenge anybody to go find, and don't give me some
nuclear weapons, not a problem.
Well, I don't think nuclear
weapons, technology.
I don't know if that's more science. Okay. And you're talking about, we've had nuclear weapons since, late 30s, early 40s. I mean, that's not a technological advancement as much as it really is, scientific. And there are some things about science that potentially could scare me, but for the most part, okay, and of course it's not going to be 100%, but the reality is, in the last, however you want to say it, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, any technological advancement has made all of our lives better. And every single thing, people have been scared. Do you remember how scared people were of the freaking internet? I mean, like how scared we are of everything, any change. It's like, oh my God, it's going to ruin the world, blah, 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 blah. And it's never happened that way. It never will.
So you don't think there's a world where AI uses quantum computing to take all the money, launch all the nukes?
No.
No, I don't think all the murder drones.
No, I don't think there's a world where that happens. Okay. And
have you mentioned this scenario to Tony? Because I feel like he's more susceptible to this type of paranoia. Quantum computers and AI could very easily take all the money.
I would agree with you. Tony would be more open to
launch all the nukes
scenario. There are a lot of people that would be more open to this scenario. I am not.
And if that happens, I recommend buying gold, by the way, not to come back to my original.
I figured that was along the way. I guess that was your connection, that quantum computing leads to global destruction, hence buy gold.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I got it.
I'm sorry, you were going to say something? I apologize.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's as insane a line of thinking that I've ever heard you come up with.
Why is gold up so much right now then? If it's not,
I don't know, because there's been in the last couple of days, there has been this flight to certain assets, and virtually every single commodity has been bid up. A little bit different today because crude oil's down and some other things are a little bit lower, but for the most part, There's just been, maybe it's a little bit of a short squeeze at this point. Maybe it's something else that I haven't been able to read into it. But for whatever, who cares? Gold's up, big deal. You're not gonna start thinking
Not
about
big deal. Gold's up because the three most evil dictators in the world are planning to take down America at the same time that AI and quantum computing are preparing to raid the banks, launch the murder drones.
Listen, we have you're right. The three of the four most powerful dictators in the world are getting together, and it's three friends and a stranger. But the problem is, our stranger is the dumbest of the four. He's got like an IQ of about 80 or less, and so we have the dumb guy. And I don't know, I don't know what that means. Doesn't bode well for America. So maybe that's why gold's up. I don't know.
You mentioned that you actually think that the risk in this rate cut coming in down the line in a couple of weeks is in the stock market.
I worry that the rate cut is. I have been waiting for bonds to go up. They went up a lot today, at full point. The notes are up a half a point. They're back near their recent highs. I think the short-term rates can handle a very small rate cut here. I was worried about 2 days ago that when we were about almost a point and a half, 2 points lower in the long bond, I was worried that would wipe out a rate cut, but now I don't think so. Now I think the rate cut's back on the table. I think a rate cut will not move the long bond. I don't even know if it'll move the shorter duration, but I think it will spook the stock market.
What's spooky about a rate cut for the stock market?
What's spooky about it is, why are you cutting rates if things are good?
Because inflation is under control,
but it's not.
And the president wants it.
I understand that the president wants it. I just got done telling you, he is one notch above a moron. Okay. And so he doesn't understand how rate cuts work. And you can't have rate cuts and lower inflation side by side. So something's got to give.
Not to totally change the topic, but sort of just on more market related things, and just because it was in the news the last minute here, there's the Google news with Apple and all this jazz. Are we basically just sort of what's the adjective I'm looking for? Are we resigning ourselves to a world that is controlled by tech monopolies? And is this most recent decision further evidence? Like, are we basically just forfeiting our freedom to the tech monopolies?
I'm not sure that we're forfeiting our freedom, because the argument that they would make is there's never been more wealth. There's never been a situation where more wealth has been created, other than what's happened over the last 15 years when these tech mega monopolies have taken over. So I think their argument's going to be, these are the best of times. And we basically insulated the U.S. economy against any kind of a down move, because we truly are too big to fail. I mean, essentially, on the one hand, you want to say, are these tech monopolies, do they really rule the world right now? And the answer is, they kind of do. Is that a bad thing? That's and the question is, well, it depends what you compare it to. I mean, nobody wants a bunch of tech mega monopolies ruling the world, but the other side of it is, we don't like the other people that rule the world. So, I'm torn. No, I do not want Mark Zuckerberg ruling the world. No, I do not want Elon Musk or any of those other yin yangs ruling the world. But the choices are not good. My choices, the choices are just not that good, who to choose from. So I do not want Jeff Bezos ruling the world, and I don't want Google to be making, to be doing social planning for us for the next, and creative planning for the next, 20 or 30 years. And I don't want Google to control every aspect of search, but it looks like, that's where we are right now.
Good for Google stock.
It's good for Google stock today.
I mean, I still feel like I've said this to you, and I've been saying this on Overtime, that Google is the best the best name on the board for the mega techs. Just
Well,
because
I
it
mean,
hasn't had the AI.
it was the cheapest relative, not anymore.
Yeah.
It's no longer the cheapest relative. Now it just got expensive. It's gone from 160, to 235. It's basically up 50%.
Yeah.
So
It's over.
Google is cheap no longer. Apple is cheap no longer. So, let's be careful here before
We get too excited.
we get too excited. That's right.
None of this. Of everything we've discussed, the only thing that gives you fear is the three dictators hanging out in China. Quantum AI, the rest of it is a non-issue. The murder drones, no problem. It's the three dictators. You got to make sure you use the phrase "murder drone" with Tony on a regular basis.
I mean, quantum computing does not keep me up at night. AI does not keep me up at night because I truly see the benefits of AI integration into everything that we do in our lives. And so I feel like the positives are going to outweigh the negatives. I'm still worried when there's a subjective, like I'm one of these people that believe in the quantitative mechanics of everything. And if I can make sense of something, 1 + 1 = 2, it's cool. If you tell me 1 + 1 equals a -1 or a +4, I get all confused.
Mm-hmm.
And when you bring in a subjective point of view from some, politician or world leader or whatever, and it makes no sense to me,
Mm-hmm.
like the idea of an isolationist policy or America first makes zero sense to me. Zero. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. The idea of no free trade, I do not get it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't argue with me and make that make sense. And for that reason, 1 + 1 does not equal 2. And I'm really bothered by that.
Do you think that is that expressing itself anywhere? Meaning in your dollar value, the places where it would express itself would be in the currency of the bond or gold, I guess.
Well, I guess it's expressed itself in all those places, but the reality is that bull markets in megatech stocks make geniuses out of everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of, that's saving the political paradigm right now. That's protecting it all the way down, through multiple layers. So, let's see.
All right. We will see.
If you're not subscribed, subscribe right here. And if you want to meet me and the team in person at our next live event, hit the link at the top of the description.